Amazing, and we're going to continue to see more and more of that. And I think too, if you build an e-commerce site, it's not like the Field of Dreams guys, where if you build it, they will come. There are all of these other supporting things that you have to do in order to build out that e-commerce strategy. So, George, I'm gonna direct this question to John. Two things. One, is there anything that George and I haven't covered
Yeah.
in that discussion? Because we know that Kirby is also reinvesting in a new e-commerce platform. Is there anything that you'd like to add to that topic?
Sure. I think that, yeah, we implemented our website back in 2008, so we've had some runtime with it. And to your first point, Denise, it just, as far as the importance of it, it's coming and it's coming fast. So if distributors are still questioning whether they should do it, it takes time. And so it's not something you can make a decision and get really good at in a series of months. We're still learning, and we've been doing it, for a number of years now. But we're also re-implementing a new platform because we're looking ahead and saying, does our current platform do what we need to do? We think that it's going to be more of a B2C type of experience. As you said earlier, we've been talking for a number of years now about the generational change, that the new millennials are going to buy differently. And those concerns may have been out a little early, but we're really starting to see that now, where, we used to be concerned about somebody sitting at a desktop and buying, and then they were on their tablets, and these young 20-something, even early 30s buyers, they're not sitting down to buy anything. And so you also hear a lot about the numbers. I've heard that too. Well, the numbers aren't that impressive yet. They're 1%, 2%, but incrementally, I think they're growing very quickly. I think when I hear, and I hear it from our own people sometimes, some of our salespeople will say, well, our customers aren't asking for that. Well, I think somebody in their building probably is. Maybe their contact isn't asking for it. So I think as you look at different markets also, I think that our website has allowed us to get into the commercial and institutional market. We've all heard the phrase probably carpet concrete, where if a buyer's standing on concrete, the adoption takes a little longer. If they're on carpet, hence education, healthcare, property management, the adoption happens very quickly. So it's been a very powerful tool for us. It's something that you have to be committed to. As you said very well earlier, Denise, it's sure not an event, or there's really no finish line. It's a journey we're constantly on. We've got people dedicated to making our website better every day. But clearly, our customers are demanding it. And probably where we've seen the most impact is our large industrial customers. And by having the website and strategic resources surrounding it, it's allowed us to be really consultants to them, and because they're on e-commerce journeys too. Our large customers in particular are trying to figure out how to leverage those tools, and you don't want to be a supplier who's on the outside looking in when that starts, because it's real hard to catch up if you're not part of that program.
Thank you. Paul?
Yeah, I do have a comment. Well, first of all, when we talk about millennials versus the baby boomers, I just realized we have George, Paul, John, and Michael. So,
yeah.
3 out of 4 ain't bad.
Ringo. You're Ringo today.
I'm going to pay for that one later, aren't I?
Yeah.
But anyway, when we talk about the strategic value of data and e-commerce and all those other things, one of the things that we start to think about is the decision-making context from the buyer's perspective. And traditionally, it's always been, new construction versus retrofit, residential, commercial, industrial. Well, there's a whole layer of industry trends that fit in between that decision-making context, whether it's LEED, net zero, efficiency, greenness, sustainability. And so, again, when you think about the strategic value of data is how, through the data that we're collecting and through the data that you're putting on your websites or that you're talking to your customers about, how do you capitalize on the industry trends in the data so that you become the place that people go to get those products? And so, again, when we think about the evolution of product data and where we're going with all of this, that's one of the critical things in the future that's, it's encoded outside of the 43 fields that we're probably currently collecting. So we need to think about, as we expand this data set toward this electronic commerce marketplace, what actually are we collecting and what really becomes important to make that sale? It's all, at the end of the day, we're all, other than the NAED folks, very few of our business cards say nonprofit at the top, right? So we're here to move product. And we need to think about what we need in order to be able to do that.
Yep. And I would say that over the last few years with the, with the wave of e-commerce and technology, it really coming to a high point in the industry. And I think that the web has done a great job of raising the awareness of having and managing and sharing high quality content. But we also hear from the manufacturer community. I put all of this work into providing all of this data, and I go out and I look at my distributor websites, and I'm not seeing all of that rich content that I've provided. I'd like to get a couple perspectives from the panel. Mike, do you want to?
Absolutely. It's certainly mixed, not just from the distribution side, but also from the manufacturing side. You need to make this investment. I think, George, your word strategy is so important. So you think about the things we do at Lutron, we spend a lot of time in the specification community, so lighting designers, architects, and engineers. Let's say we were laying out a lighting control design for this ballroom application. That's done on an electronic tool today. A bill of materials comes out of that tool. We want to connect that specifier to the channel. How do we do that? And how do we connect to the channel effectively? So think of this process that things are being done electronically in design. It's not drawn anymore by hand. It's done electronically, and today it even attaches to BIM tools for the architectural community. We can connect it to the channel effectively, and then you can pull up from a central repository that we as manufacturers are committed to continue to populate, and you can look at that part number and be able to supply that information. It gives you a better chance of participating in that order. Because that is the world today. It is getting there faster and faster and faster. And we're committed, in our company, and I think all of our Neiman manufacturers need to be committed to populate this with high quality data so that, again, we can connect you to the market effectively. Because we're very committed to the electrical distribution channel. We need that commitment on your end to take that data, keep it updated, and have this strategy from concept, design, fulfillment, install, and pull that whole thing together. And I think if we do that, it'll be a lot more effective, and our industry will expand.
Yep. And I would like to comment on that. So what you're saying is we've done our part, and we want our distributors to consume the data that we've got. And I think it's been interesting over the years as we've watched IDEA evolve, that we've talked about it being a supplier-driven model, and then we talked about it being a distributor-driven model. I think what we really have and what we should strive for is a supplier-governed model, but one in which we say it's a collaborative model. Because I think until we recognize that we have to work together, we're never going to get the maximum potential from the industry data warehouse. And I think it's so critical because it's not just one company doing their part. I think in order for this channel, which as Sandy said yesterday in his speech, is under a full assault. And that really started back in the 80s and 90s with the big box retailers. You've got Amazon, but I'm telling you, companies like Office Depot and Staples are now selling electrical products. And let's face it, the B2B space is 5 times bigger than the B2C space, and it's growing twice as fast. And there's no doubt in my mind that Jeff Bezos sees the potential there, as do all of these other companies. And I think it's critical that we move forward together as an industry to make sure that we maintain its vitality and that we remain the channel of first choice. Not just a channel of choice, but channel of first choice. And John, would you say that there are other places in your organization that data plays a role? Again, we've talked a lot about the web, but are there other places that you would consider it to be a vital part of?
Sure. First thing that comes to mind, Denise, I think about our distribution center and the decisions we make there with data. And the attributes, whether it's UPC or pictures or spec sheets or weight and measures. I mean, that's information that's all critical the way we run our business day to day. The way we market to our customers, we're dependent upon data we trust to present the right image. So data really is driven throughout our organization. It's a big part of our website, and obviously the requirements for transactional data are a lot different than searchable data. And then there's a lot of, that's our focus. We think the search is going to be very important going forward. And so I think in order to have the right attributes, it's all about that user experience. But clearly data, it touches every aspect of our business. And as George said, well, you've got to have people dedicated to managing that, because it's an ongoing process to have good data that you trust. And obviously IDEA is a big part of that. But it requires extra work to make sure you customize it to do what our customers need.
Yep. So part of the message I'm hearing is for all of those manufacturers who've complied with the 43 data fields, and for those of you who haven't, not only is it critical for the launch of e-commerce, but it's also used by the counter guys and part of your lookup tools. It's part of the everyday ordering process. It's part of bill of materials. It's part of the bidding process. So I would say to you, don't use the website as your only measure to determine whether that you're getting a return on your investment with the data that you're providing to the industry data warehouse. There are many, many different places that the data is used, and it's critical. I do think that we need to work as an industry to open up the transparency and the visibility so that manufacturers can have better insight as to how and where that data is being used in the distributor systems, so that you can have strategic planning sessions about how to, not necessarily, you have to talk about the content that's needed, but you got to talk about what's needed to help drive the sales and to get greater efficiencies. So I'm going to ask, this is a fun question, I think. What would life be like without the industry data warehouse? We know Paul would be unemployed, but beyond that, what would life, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, I'll start. I mean, so we would be getting 2,000 requests from all of you of constructing some way of getting information to you so you can improve your transaction costs. I mean, and that for us to be able to handle today, even through the requests that we get in and working with you individually, whether it's working with John's organization or George's or just our coordination with Paul's organization, that is a lot for us to handle, but we're very committed to do so. Imagine if all of you had a different way of looking at this. It would be very difficult for us. We wouldn't get it to you. We wouldn't get the quantity of data to you. It certainly wouldn't be the quality of data. We would tell you, here it is, you construct it, and it wouldn't be up to date for innovative companies and how rapidly we at Lutron bring out products. So it would certainly be a very, very big concern. And I think transaction costs would go up considerably.
It would go up considerably. There was something else that you said in there. Well, you said a lot of things.
Yeah.
It'll come back to me. John, did you want to weigh in on this?
Yeah,
on
it'd be
this topic?
expensive. I know that. Yeah, but without a center-led approach to this, I think that, and Mike said it well, I think that we'd be out to 100-plus manufacturers asking for this information, and we'd have to organize it, coordinate it. Again, we've got folks in our business today that normalize data, enrich it, but that staff would probably multiply times 5 or 6. So the idea of this not being center-led and our key manufacturers going to one source would be very expensive, and transaction costs would go through the roof.
Yeah, so what I'm hearing is that there would be huge added costs to both sides, and the quality wouldn't be nearly what it should be or needs to be, and then the distributors would have to construct that data, thus adding time, resources, and I see that as a delay of getting new products out to the market. And I think that, we talk about technology increasing the speed at which we do everything. Wouldn't we all love to get our products to market faster and faster? It's critical, right, for revenue acceleration, absolutely key, and I think the industry data warehouse is instrumental in taking us there.